When Princess Charlotte met Lily, an 8-year-old girl covered in burn scars, what she did next left even the nurses in tears. It all started a few weeks before May 2nd, as Princess Charlotte prepared to celebrate her 9th birthday. This birthday was different because it wasn't the kind most 9-year-olds would imagine, let alone a royal. There was no party tent on the palace lawn, no flashy headlines, and no Instagram-perfect photos like in previous years. Instead, Princess Charlotte chose something quieter and far more meaningful, something that would affect a little girl in a hospital. Curious to find out what it is? Stay tuned. Weeks earlier, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had asked her daughter the usual question, "What would you like for your birthday?" But instead of jumping into a list like she had done the year before, when she had asked for a pony-themed art set, a new skipping rope, and strawberry cupcakes, Charlotte did something different this time. She did not answer straight away. For a child known to be spirited and articulate, the silence was unusual. She simply said, "I'll let you know," and went back to her sketchbook. Catherine noticed this shift, but she did not press. The truth is that Charlotte had grown more thoughtful in recent months. There had always been a maturity about her, like that quiet moment during the late Queen's funeral, when she gently reminded her younger brother what to do as the procession passed, telling him to bow. But lately, it has gone even deeper. She had started asking questions, not just about royal duties, but about the people they met during engagements, about charities her mother supported, about children who did not have the same comforts she did. It was subtle, but something was clearly shifting. So, just 2 weeks before her birthday, Catherine decided to take her children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, on what seemed like a simple outing. It was a quiet visit to Royal Manchester Children's Hospital. This hospital was located just outside London. At first, they arranged with no public announcement or press, but due to their status, news of this visit got out to the media. So, to outsiders, it might have looked like a routine gesture, but to Catherine, it meant something more. She had long admired how Princess Diana used to take William and Harry on private visits to hospitals, shelters, and charities. She did not do this photo ops, but to open their eyes to the world beyond palace walls. This visit was no different. For Catherine, it was both a way to honor Diana's legacy and to help her own children understand something essential, and that was the fact that the privilege of their position came with the responsibility to care for others. That day, as they walked quietly through the hospital's pediatric wing, something shifted, especially for Charlotte. She wore a pale green disposable gown over her dress and a soft scarf tied around her hair, just like the hospital staff had shown her. She looked less like a princess and more like any other child trying to follow the rules in an unfamiliar place. Her shoes barely made a sound on the polished floor as she followed her mother through the corridor, her brothers just behind. The ward smelled like antiseptic and soap, and the walls were filled with children's artwork, drawings of castles, animals, superheroes, and one rather cheerful rainbow that had clearly been hanging there too long. The first room they entered, they met a boy named Ethan. He was around Louis's age, maybe a year older, with kind eyes and a shaved head that made his features look even more delicate. Ethan had lost both hands to meningococcal septicemia, a rare but fast-moving bacterial infection. He told George that he was in grade 4 when it happened. According to him, it was just a normal day at school, until he collapsed at lunchtime. He told them that he had been in intensive care for weeks and nearly lost his life, and the infection had moved so quickly that the doctors had to act fast to save him, but they could not save his hands. So because of this, Ethan was learning how to do everyday tasks all over again. That afternoon, he was using specially adapted utensils to eat lunch, a spoon strapped to a soft brace on his forearm. His nurse stood beside him, offering gentle encouragement. Charlotte watched from the foot of the bed, completely still. She didn't look away even when Ethan struggled to scoop up a bit of mashed potato. Her usual curiosity was replaced with something quieter, a kind of reverence. It was the first time she had seen a child close to her age so changed, so brave, and yet so calm. In another room, they met a teenage girl in a wheelchair who had been in treatment for bone cancer. She laughed when George asked what video games she liked, and as she showed Charlotte a notebook full of poems she'd written about her nurses, the family smiled, listened, nodded, but there was a softness in Charlotte's eyes, a kind of stillness that hadn't been there earlier. The visit was meant to be short, just a few rooms, a few hellos, but each stop left a mark in the lives of the children. And then came room 12, the room that changed everything. Don't go anywhere. As they stepped into the last room for the day, the air seemed to shift. Inside, they met a young girl who sat propped up carefully in bed. Her posture was very stiff, and her left side was covered in layers of white gauze. The burns on her neck, shoulder, and arms were still healing, a patchwork of pain and resilience. Her name was Lily, and she was 8, the same age as Charlotte at that time. A sketchpad was lying on her lap, and despite the thick bandaging on her fingers, she was drawing. A dog, curled beneath a window. The shading was simple but deliberate, each pencil stroke placed with care. It wasn't just a distraction. It was focused. Survival. Charlotte stopped at the door to take it all in. Lily's parents were also seated nearby, her mother gently adjusting the edge of a blanket, her father holding a water bottle, watching his daughter with tired but devoted eyes. When they saw the royal visitors, they stood anxiously, but the nurse quickly smiled and gestured for everyone to remain relaxed. Before anybody could say anything, Charlotte stepped forward to speak. Her voice was quiet but curious. "What happened?" she asked gently, with her eyes fixed on the bandages. Lily looked up from her sketch. She was not shy, but she did not speak right away. Instead, she looked at her mother, who offered a soft nod, giving her permission to speak. "There was a fire," Lily said finally, "at our house. I was in my room when it started. I tried to get out, but the door was hot. I couldn't open it." Charlotte's eyes widened in disbelief. "How did you get out?" "My dad and the firefighters broke the window," Lily said, glancing at him. "They climbed in from the garden and pulled me out. She was unconscious when we reached her," her father added, his voice thick with emotion. "If we had been 1 minute later—" He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Lily turned back to her drawing. "They say I'm lucky, but it still hurts. A lot." Charlotte moved a little closer. She looked at the sketch. "Is that your dog?" Lily shook her head. "Number, I just draw them. I like dogs." "I have one," Charlotte said quietly. "Her name is Orla. I try to draw her too, but I can never get the ears right." That made Lily smile, a lopsided grin that softened the tension in the room. "You draw?" Lily asked. "All the time," Charlotte said, "especially when I'm nervous. It helps me think." The girls kept talking about dogs, drawings, and the frustration of noses that always came out wrong. Lily's mother quietly dabbed her eyes with a tissue. Catherine stood back, her gaze moving between the two girls, saying nothing but clearly moved. Eventually, the visit had to end. The nurse gave a small, respectful nod. Charlotte took a small step back, then paused. "You're really good," she said, gesturing toward the drawing. "Maybe I'll bring mine next time." Lily blinked and asked in excitement, "So you would come back?" Charlotte didn't answer right away, but her expression softened. "I hope so," she said. Then, just as she turned to go, Catherine gently placed a hand on her shoulder, and they stepped out into the hallway. As they left, something happened that ended up changing the fate of Lily. Keep watching to find out. They had almost reached the end of the corridor when Charlotte suddenly stopped. "My scarf," she said, turning to Catherine. "I left it on the chair." Catherine nodded, letting her go back on her own, trailed quietly by one of the hospital staff. As Charlotte approached room 12 again, the door was still slightly opened. She stepped in softly, not wanting to disturb anyone. But just as she reached for the scarf draped over the back of the visitor's chair, she heard voices. Lily's parents. Their tone was hushed, low but tense. "The doctor said she'll need another surgery," her mother was saying. "The burns tightened around her shoulder. It's affecting bone growth. If we wait too long, it could limit how her arm develops." Her father sighed deeply. "And we are already behind on payments. The last procedure drained everything we had. The graft did not take fully. They'll need to go in again." I asked about financial aid, the mother continued. But it's a long list, and the burn therapy alone is hundreds a week. Charlotte stood still, with her scarf in hand. This wasn't just about pain or healing. It was about time, about money, and about a girl her age who might not get what she needed simply because it cost too much. As Charlotte joined her family, the ride back to Windsor was unusually quiet. Charlotte sat near the window, her fingers tracing foggy patterns in the glass as the afternoon sun drifted across the horizon. She'd not said much since they left the hospital. George and Louis chatted softly behind her, but she was not listening. All she kept saying in hushed tones was room 12 and Lily's name. Later that evening, while the house settled into its usual rhythms, staff finished up in the kitchen, the boys upstairs with their books, Charlotte found her mother in the drawing room. Catherine was organizing mail, flipping gently through envelopes. She looked up and smiled when Charlotte entered. "Did you forget something?" she asked. Charlotte did not answer at first. She walked over and stood in front of the fireplace, looking at the small flicker of flame that kept the summer chill at bay. "I know what I want for my birthday," she said finally. Catherine tilted her head. "You do?" Charlotte nodded. "I want to help Lily. I want to pay for her surgery." There was a moment of stillness. Catherine closed the mail and gave her daughter her full attention. "That's very kind, sweetheart. But why this, all of a sudden?" Charlotte turned toward her, eyes steady. "When I went back to get my scarf," she began slowly, "I heard her parents talking. They were scared about the money. They didn't know how they would pay for everything. Her mum was crying." She looked down, twisting her fingers together. "She's only 8, Mummy. She can't even open her hand properly, but she was smiling. She was drawing, like it didn't hurt." Catherine stepped forward and knelt to meet her at eye level. "She needs more surgery," Charlotte whispered, "because her skin is hurting her bones. Her dad said it might stop her from moving properly when she grows up." There was no drama in her voice, just quiet certainty. Catherine reached out and brushed a strand of hair from Charlotte's cheek. "We can speak to the hospital. Find out what she needs," she said gently. "We'll see what's possible." Charlotte nodded again. "But can it be from me? Not from you or Papa? Just me?" Catherine smiled. "It can." By the following day, private arrangements had been made. The hospital administrator was discreet, moved by the gesture and protective of both families' privacy. A donation of €39,000 was transferred directly to the hospital's surgical fund, enough to cover Lily's upcoming skin graft, reconstructive procedures, and several months of physical therapy. The surgery was scheduled for the following weeks. When Lily's parents received the news, her mother burst into tears. Her father sat in stunned silence, holding the letter in one hand and the envelope in the other. Inside was a small card with a dog sketch on the front, and a simple note that said, "Keep on fighting, Lily, with love, Princess Charlotte." The letter came with a palace seal, but Charlotte did not mention what had happened to anyone else. There was no birthday cake big enough to match the feeling she had when she slipped that card into the envelope. No candle to blow out that could carry such a wish. She didn't need one. And this time, for once, she did not want anything else. But it did not end there. The surgery was scheduled for a Thursday morning, just 12 days after Charlotte's birthday. It would be a delicate skin graft procedure aimed not just at healing Lily's burns, but helping her regain mobility in her left arm, where scar tissue had begun to tighten around the growing bone. The hospital wing buzzed quietly that morning, nurses moving with soft urgency, and parents murmuring with hope and fear. Charlotte had asked to visit Lily the evening before the operation. Catherine had gently agreed, and they made the short trip back to the hospital after school. This time, Charlotte was not in a green gown or scarf. She wore jeans and a soft hoodie with her initials on the sleeve. Orla's paw print, hand-drawn, peeked out from her pocket, a gift Lily had given her in return for the sketch card. The moment they stepped into Lily's room, the little girl lit up. Despite the pain and the bandages, her smile was wide and real. "You came back," Lily said. "I promised, didn't I?" Charlotte replied, sitting by the bed. She pulled out a new sketchbook, the pages still crisp and white. We'll draw something together once you're better." The two girls didn't talk much about the surgery. That was not to Charlotte's way. Instead, they laughed over dog names, argued over which was harder to draw, paws or tails, and quietly colored the corner of one page together. When it was time to go, Charlotte squeezed Lily's unbandaged hand gently. "You're braver than anyone I've ever met," she said. The surgery lasted 5 hours. Catherine kept Charlotte updated, but it was the hospital administrator who called personally to deliver the news. It had been a success. The graft had taken well, and Lily would begin therapy in 2 weeks. Charlotte grinned when she heard. "Good," she said. "Now she can finish our drawing." Over the next month, Lily improved steadily. Her swelling reduced. Her mobility returned in stages. She began sitting up without help and even started drawing again. And then one afternoon, as her parents helped her stretch her arm during recovery, she made a quiet but determined request, one that shocked everyone. "Stay with us. I want to tell people what happened," Lily said. "Not just about the fire, about everything, especially about her." Her parents were surprised at first. They wanted to keep things quiet. Their reason was simple. They wanted to protect Lily and show respect for the royal family's privacy. But Lily was firm. "If she hadn't helped me, I wouldn't be getting better like this," she said. "People should know." So with the hospital's help and her parents' permission, Lily sat in front of a camera in her room one sunny afternoon. Her hair was tied back gently, the bandages thinner now. She held her sketch pad in her lap, the page open to a dog with slightly crooked ears and a big, lopsided nose. "My name is Lily," she began, "and someone really kind helped me when I needed it most. Her name is Princess Charlotte. She didn't want people to know, but I do." She talked about the visit, about the sketch, about the card, about the gift. "She gave me a chance to get better," Lily said, her voice steady, "and she didn't ask for anything, just that I should just keep drawing." The video was uploaded by the hospital's media team with her family's approval. It was short, just under 3 minutes, but within hours it began to spread online. People around the world were touched by the grace, the generosity, and the quiet courage of 2 girls, one healing, the other learning the meaning of compassion. In the comments, there was an outpouring of admiration. Their comments read, "This brought me to tears. What a beautiful act of kindness from someone so young." Another viewer simply said, "Diana would be proud. Charlotte is truly following in her grandmother's footsteps." But not every reaction was glowing. One viewer wrote bluntly, "Charlotte was just being opportuned. It's not like she would do this again. It's all about approval ratings, politically driven just like the rest of them." Still, that comment was drowned out by thousands of others expressing awe, hope, and gratitude. And though Charlotte never made a statement, and Catherine politely declined interview requests, those close to the family said only this: the princess had received a link to the video, and she smiled the entire way through it, even promising to stay in touch with Lily. Because sometimes the best way to celebrate isn't with a party, but by leaving a quiet, lasting mark on someone else's life. So, what are your thoughts on Princess Charlotte's gesture? And how do you think this act of kindness will shape Lily's life as she grows up? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.